week we're looking at the word mind, but before we do that, let's take a quick look back at last week's language focus. We had really good weather last week in Dublin. It was really hot, and a lot of people were walking around in flip-flops. So we looked at the word, the two words that make up the soft, rubbery shoes that you wear in summertime and on the beach. I think Hawaiianas are probably the most well-known makers of flip-flops. We took the word flip, we looked at that, we talked about how it meant to turn things over. You flip a coin, you flip pancakes, you flip omelets. We talked also about how it could indicate something turned over itself, a car flipped over 3 times when the driver lost control. And we also talked about how flipping means suddenly becoming angry and losing control. He totally flipped when his boss criticized the presentation he spent hours on. We looked at the other word flop, which didn't have as many applications, but 2 of them that we looked at were how it refers to the way you fall into furniture when you're either tired or very relaxed. For example, you could flop into a chair at the end of a day, you could flop onto the sofa and crack open a beer. And we also talked about how it's used to describe films and stage productions which don't make the money they're expected to make, which are failures. We gave examples of big film flops such as John Carter, a recent Disney film, and Waterworld, a Kevin Costner film from the 1990s. And let me just show you one more application of the word flip-flop, which we didn't look at last week, but which has a connection to the language we're looking at today. Let me just go into the screen share. Okay, sorry, this is not... I'm stuck on that. Hang on a minute. I'm trying to get out of there. Here we go. God, I went the wrong way. Flip-flopping in politics is a word that describes somebody's apparent dramatic change of position on something, or their change of support on something. I've got something there on the screen in front of you. A politician who changes his position on something to try to get more votes. It's something that we only use in politics, or to describe. It's only used to describe what happens in politics. We don't talk about, for example, referees in football matches flip-flopping. It's only used to talk about politicians, and politicians are famous for it. If you follow American politics, you might remember John Kerry, the current Secretary of State or Foreign Secretary, Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Obama administration, stood against George W. Bush, the president at the time, in 2004, and he was attacked for flip-flopping. So here you can see a piece of Bush election merchandise, a pair of flip-flops, and at the top is John Kerry flip-flops, a message about John Kerry, and you can see that on one side we've got what they say he's for, and on the other side, the other flip-flop, they have what they say he's against. And if you look at the list, they are exactly the same. So they say he's for the war in Iraq, and yet he's against the war in Iraq. He's for George Bush's tax cuts, and he's against George Bush's tax cuts. So at some point, John Kerry expressed support in their opinion, for the Iraq War, and at some point then he expressed opposition to the Iraq War, and the argument was that he couldn't take a clear line. He was contradicting himself, and he didn't really know what he wanted. This is another one, another piece of Bush election memorabilia at this stage. And as you can see, the soldiers here are wearing flip-flops as they walk through the grass. So the use of the word flip-flop can describe a politician who seems to be trying to support and oppose in an incoherent way, obviously, a particular position or a particular area. And this is always something that people criticize. So somebody come out of there and come back to you. Right, so that's going to allow us to look at the language focus we've got for this week, which is the word mind. Okay, it's an interesting word. It's not a Latin word, and so often its meanings and its applications are not as apparent to language learners. We're going to start with the noun form, which is the easier of the two to look at, and after that we'll look at its verb form. Okay, so what is a mind? A mind is that part of your brain that is conscious, that allows you to make decisions. Okay, we talk about people who have great minds. Okay, Albert Einstein had a great mind, and here we're kind of making it the same as a brain, you know. Because we use our minds to think in the way that we use our brains to think. But we don't use brain and mind in the same way when we talk about making decisions. When we talk about making decisions, we talk about using our minds. We don't talk about using our brains. So let's go back into the screen share and come up with the first one. I know I said I'd go out with you tonight, but I've changed my mind. Sorry, I'm too tired. Okay, so there we have the phrase change your mind, okay, which means make a decision and then later change that decision. Okay, and notice how it's very important that you say your mind, my mind. Okay, things that are part of us physically are always referred to in English as with possession. Okay, so you don't say the head hurts, you say my head hurts, for example. Okay, and similarly you've got to say I've changed my mind, he changed his mind, they changed their minds. Okay, so when you change your mind, you change the decision that you made earlier. Let's look at another one. Make up your mind. That's to say, make a decision. Okay, here's an example. I can't make up my mind whether to go to Greece or Italy on holidays this summer. Okay, so I'm thinking about Greece and I'm thinking about Italy, but I'm not sure which place, which destination I'll go to. Okay, so making up your mind is about making a decision. Changing your mind is about changing a decision. And here is something that somebody would say to you, or you would say to somebody, when you get annoyed with them, when you get angry with them because they aren't making a decision and you are now impatient with them. Would you ever make up your mind once and for all? Okay? So, in other words, make up your mind now. Make that decision. Here's another one, which is a nice one. I'm not sure if I'll go away this weekend. I'm in two minds about it. Okay, so this is a nice one. What we're saying here is that it's like you can say I haven't made up my mind. Okay, but earlier we said I haven't made up my mind whether I'll go to Greece or to Italy. Here the decision is, shall I go or shall I not go? That's what you're in two minds about, okay? Now, be careful. You can't say, well, just let me come out of here for a minute and come back to you. A lot of people would try to express this in a different way. They'd say, I'm between going and not going. And what they're doing there is unsuccessfully trying to express the inability to decide to do something or not to do it. In English, you can't say, I'm between something and another thing. You have to say, I'm in two minds about it. Okay, I'm in two minds about it. Okay, are you going to go to John's wedding party on the 25th? I'm in two minds about it. I have a lot of work to do, but I really like John and I'd like to be there for him. Okay, so being in two minds about something means that you don't know whether to do it or whether not to do it. When you can't make up your mind, it's a little more open because you have two options: going to Greece, going to Italy. Okay, and that's what you can't make up your mind about. Okay, let's take a look at some more uses of the word mind. So, something can be on your mind, and this means that you are thinking about something or there's something you want to talk about. Let's look at the first example. Can I talk to you about something? Sure, what's on your mind? Okay, in other words, sure, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say to me? Okay. Two people having a conversation. This could be in the office, it could be a couple at home, it could be any situation really where one person stops the other and says, I need to talk to you, or there's something I want to talk to you about. And the response is, yeah, sure, what's on your mind? What do you want to say? Another use of this then is just to say that you are thinking about somebody. So John has been on my mind lately. I must call him and see how he is. Okay, I must call him and see how he is. He's been on my mind. Notice the use here of must because you think this is important. A little something a lot of students have trouble with is knowing when to use must and when to use have to. My advice to you is that when you use have to, 95% of the time you're going to be correct. We use it a lot more than we use must. Must tends to come from the heart. Okay, this is in spoken English, not in written English. In spoken English, when you say I must do something, you're saying I think it's important for me to do it. When you're saying I have to do something, you can it's either expressing that you think it's important, or you're saying I've got no choice. So if you've got no money in your wallet, then you have to go to the bank. And if you work for a living, then you just have to work. If it's part of your work schedule, okay, I have to work tomorrow, Friday, for example. I don't have to work on Saturday. So going back into our little screen share, John's been on my mind. I've been thinking about John. Maybe I'm worried about him, or maybe it's because he's a good friend and I haven't spoken to him for a while. So something in my mind is telling me to get in contact with him. And I talk about that using the expression, he's on my mind. Similarly, when I want to say something to somebody, they can say, what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? Now, here's one more, okay? We said a minute ago that mind is synonymous with the part of your brain where you make decisions, okay? And so if you are out of your mind, then you are not in contact with it, and you are probably doing strange, unusual, even crazy things, okay? So somebody can ask you, are you out of your mind? What on earth did you say that for? Referring to something unusual or strange or inappropriate that you said to somebody. They know, okay? And their only explanation for it is that you have temporarily lost control of your mind, and so you're out of your mind, okay? Okay, I think that is all we have in the noun area. Okay, so we had a few of them. We started with it being the same as decision making. Okay, so make up your mind, change your mind, Okay, be in two minds about something. And then we moved on to it being something that you're thinking about. Okay, what's on your mind? What do you want to say? Uh, you've been on my mind lately, so I've been thinking about you. Okay, and dude, are you out of your mind? As in, are you crazy? What you're doing is strange or unusual, or it cannot be explained as normal in terms of your normal behavior. Okay, let's go on now and look at the uses of mind when it is a verb form. Okay. Okay, so here are the three most basic ones. Take care of something, pay attention to something, and care or be bothered about something. Let's not look at the word bothered at the moment. That might be something new to you. So let's just focus on taking care of things or paying attention to things. I can't meet you. I'm minding my little brother this evening while my parents go out. Okay. The person speaking is probably a teenager, and a teenager that's old enough to take responsibility for a younger sibling. The little brother could be 10, could be 5, could be 4. The point is the little brother can't be left alone, and the parents are going out, so the older sibling is going to take care of the younger sibling. The older sibling is going to look after the younger sibling. The older sibling is going to mind the younger sibling. Okay, and of course we have a word for people who mind children. We call them childminders, right? Okay. Also, you can use that, for example, if you're in a restaurant or in a public place and you need to run to the toilet and you don't want to have to pick up all your stuff and take it with you because you're coming back to the table, you could say to the nice, honest-looking couple sitting next to you, could you mind my bag while I go to the toilet? Okay. And they will keep it for you. Okay. They will look after it for you. Now, here's a kind. It's not exactly the same, but as take care of, but we use it a lot, and it is related. So when you ask, or somebody asks you questions that you think are private or personal, and you don't want to give them the answer because you don't think they have any reason to know it, you commonly say, mind your own business. Okay, so your business is the things that are affect you, your own personal problems, your own personal situation, your own personal matters. Okay, and my business similarly is my personal situation and my matters. And I don't think you should be taking an interest in my business. I think you should just be focusing on looking after your own business. Okay, so this isn't the politest expression you can use, but sometimes it's a useful one to have because it clearly signals to somebody that they are asking a question that you think is personal or private. Okay, mind your own business. Now, let's take a look at a different use. Okay, we said, if I go back up to it, the second meaning there of mind is pay attention to. Okay, so be aware of or know that something is there. Okay, if you have ever traveled on the London Underground, you may have heard a voice repeating over and over and over, mind the gap, mind the gap, mind the gap. And this is often a mysterious incantation to decipher if your English level is quite low when you arrive in London for the first time. But you quickly work it out, or you quickly find out what this means. And of course, the meaning is that there is a space between where you stand, the platform, and wait for the train, and the train when it arrives in the station on the tracks. There is a space between the platform and the train, the space here, and it's dangerous because as you step off the train onto the platform, you could fall into the space, as happened recently to a woman in a station just outside Tokyo. She luckily was rescued by passengers who pushed the train to one side and helped her get back on track. So if in Tokyo they had a similar expression running on a tape again and again and again, maybe that woman would not have fallen between the train and the tracks or the platform. So mind the gap is something that you will hear non-stop on the London Underground, but you'll also see signs, for example, saying mind the step. You'll see those signs in places where there is the stairs going up or down, usually down, and it's not evident that that the stairs begins at that point. So there's a notice to advise you, there's a notice to warn you that there is a step and that the level of the floor is going to be changing. So they're saying, please pay attention to the step in front of you, mind the step. Finally, there's a strange expression, mind your P's and Q's. And this is another way of saying, say please and thank you, or remember to say please and thank you, okay? It's an English idiomatic phrase, and if somebody, often parents will say it to their children when they know their children are going to a friend's house for a party or something like that, they will remind the children as they are dropping them off at the house or bringing them round to the friend's house. Now, mind your P's and Q's, won't you? Remember to say please and thank you. Okay? All right, so that mind is the focus of that, the use of mind there is telling somebody to pay attention to something. Okay, it's different to minding a child, or because when you mind a child, then you are looking after them. But there is a relationship, isn't there? Okay, here's another use of mind, and we use this a lot in requests. Okay, here it means is it a problem for you? Okay, so excuse me, would you mind putting out your cigarette? Here, putting out means extinguishing. Okay, would you mind putting out your cigarette? I'm afraid you can't smoke here. Notice, please, the grammar of the word after mind. We didn't say, would you mind to put, which isn't correct. You've got to say, would you mind putting? Okay, so would you mind putting out your cigarette? I'm afraid you can't smoke here. Here's another example. Does anybody mind if I open the window? It's quite hot in here. Okay. So it's the same use of mind. Is it okay for you? Is it a problem for you if I open the window? Now look at the answers to these questions. Would you mind putting out your cigarette? I'm afraid you can't smoke here. The answer will be no, of course not. No, I don't. No, I wouldn't mind. Okay. In other words, no, it's not a problem for me. Okay. Does anybody mind if I open the window? No, I don't. Okay, it's not a problem for me. So you have to say no. The person isn't saying, is it okay if I open the window? The answer to that question will be yes, it is. The person is saying, do you have a problem if I open the window? So you should say no, I don't have a problem. Okay, no, I don't mind. Okay, here's another use of mind. Do you want to eat pizza or curry tonight? And here, once again, oh, I don't mind. Okay, which means I'm easy about it. I don't care if we eat pizza. I don't care if we eat curry. I'm happy to eat both. Okay, so it's a nice expression to have in response to people. Although, be careful, because if you say, I don't mind too much, then somebody is likely to ask you in an exasperated way, would you ever make up your mind? Okay, we like people to be decisive in English, we like people to make decisions, and if you only ever say, I don't mind, then it can get a little bit annoying. Okay, we like people to express preference. Okay, here's another use again, and this is a bit different. Okay, when we said here, does anybody mind if I open the window? We're using it in a polite way, okay, because we're saying, I hope it's not a problem for you, and I want to check. Okay, here we're using it to express anger. Do you mind? In other words, could you stop making that noise? Or could you stop doing what is distracting me? I'm trying to watch TV. Okay? Right, so let's just do a quick recap, a quick review before I sign off with you. Okay, our word this week is mind. And we moved on to that because we had a connection with flip-floppers, or flip-flopping in politics, where politicians change the support they have for something and start to oppose it. So they change their minds about something. Okay, and when you change your mind, you change a decision you made earlier. Okay, we don't like when people do this in politics if it seems contradictory and if it seems they're only doing it because they think it will get them more votes from people. We like politicians to make up their minds, to make decisions and not to change them all the time. Okay, so we like politicians who make up their minds. We like people who make up their minds, and when we make up our minds, we don't like to have to change our minds later, although sometimes we just have to. We also talked about how something can be on your mind. If I have something to talk to you about, if there's something I want to say to you, then it's on my mind, and I need to talk to you about it. Also, if I think about you a lot, or I'm thinking about you a lot at the moment, you're on my mind. Okay, why is that? You're living in a different country and I miss you, or we are very good friends and I like to see you a lot and I haven't seen you recently. For whatever reason, you're on my mind. I'm thinking about you. The uses then we had when somebody does something that's strange, that's unusual, we say they're out of their minds. Okay, are you out of your mind? What are you thinking? What are you saying? This is not the normal you. This is a strange you. You seem to be behaving in a crazy way. Are you out of your mind? And then we moved on to the uses of mind in the verb form. So first of all, you can mind things. You can mind children. We employ people to do that. They're called child minders. You also have to be careful. So if you're on the London Underground, you have to mind the gap. If you are attending a party that is being thrown, we throw parties, we don't make them, we throw them. If you are attending a party that's being thrown by somebody you don't know, you need to say please and thank you and behave in a mannered way. So you need to mind your P's and Q's. Okay. We use mind in requests, meaning do you care? Is it a problem? Would you mind if I open the window? Do you mind if I leave work early? The answer to that is probably yes, they do mind, but worth asking anyway. And at the end then we also used it to say that we're quite easy about a decision. I don't mind if we go to the cinema tonight or if we stay home. I'm happy to do both. Okay, and last of all, we use the same expression to express anger, to say, sorry, could you stop doing that? Do you mind? Okay, all right, that is what we have got for you today. I'm Paul here at ULearn in Dublin. I'll see you again at the same time next Thursday. Have a great week.